पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। वागर्थाय संपुतो वागर्थपतये जगतः पितरो वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। First of all, I would like to express my deep gratitude to the organizers who gave me opportunity to share my views with you. I will mainly speak on Kashmir Śaivism, its contemporary scholarship, and the debate regarding the climax of Indian philosophy. As we know that most of the contemporary scholars of Kashmir Śaivism are of the view that it is in Kashmir Śaivism that the culmination of Indian philosophy takes place. I have already communicated to Dr. Gyan Prakash my abstract of the presentation. I do not know whether you have this or not.
So we have it.
Oh. So, I am reading the paper. My purpose in the following lecture is to discuss the Kāśmīra Śaivites' claim that it presents the perfect form of Advaita. Right from Somanand to Lakshmanju, Kāśmīri Acharyas are of the opinion that the true Advaita is an Advaita of self-conscious Shiva or Brahman, and not of differenceless, indeterminate abstract Brahman. Ultimate reality is self-conscious Shiva, who is the only non-dual reality. If there is only one reality, that is of Shiva, then whatever appears as the manifoldness can nothing be but Shiva himself. The world is a self-extension of Shiva, who manifests himself in the form of this beautiful world. Kāśmīra Śaivites advocate that since the world of manifoldness is manifestation of Shiva himself, it is true and not the false. Hence, the doctrine is realism. On the other hand, as everything appears in the Shiva consciousness, which is the sole reality, so the doctrine is idealism. This is what K.C. Pandey calls realistic idealism, and which he finds as the greatest contribution of Kāśmīra Śaivism. Similarly, scholars of this school claim that Shiva is the absolute and the God at the same time. It is Nirgun and Sagun, indeterminate and determinate, cosmic and acosmic, one and many simultaneously. How is such a contradiction possible? Kāśmīra Śaivites opine that above contradictions appear due to our misunderstanding of the nature of the Shiva consciousness. On the other side, Advaita Vedantins are of the opinion that if there is only one non-dual reality of Brahman and there is nothing besides that, even then whatever appears as manifoldness can nothing be but false. The world of manifoldness is nothing but appearance. Relations can be held only where there are two real terms. As there is only one real term, that is Brahman, no relation can be ascribed to Brahman. Brahman is beyond all relations. As Brahman is non-relational and there is no other, it could not be personal, neither could it be endowed with egoity. Brahman consciousness is pure consciousness, devoid of any sort of egoity, duality. Brahman is acosmic, indeterminate, and nirguna. In fact, the whole debate is debate between the personal and the impersonal, a debate between the philosopher's absolute and theist God. We are in fact already familiar with the debates between the Advaitins and Vaishnavas. Now, this time this debate is between the Advaitins and Kāśmīra. In this background, we can proceed. As we know that Advaita Vedānta is considered to be one of the leading philosophies of India. Supporters of Advaita believe that it is here that the culmination of Indian thought takes place. These people believe that Shankara is the greatest of all the philosophers and Advaita is the climax of thought. This idea of supremacy of Advaita Vedānta was popularized by the first systematic historiographer of Indian philosophy, Madhvacharya, in his Sarvadarshan Sangra. He presents different schools of Indian philosophy in a progressive order and posits Advaita at the end, signifying that Indian philosophizing finds climax in Shankara's Advaita Vedānta. This text is very significant in the Sarvadarshan Sangra. Why? Because we find a very systematic historiography of Indian philosophy for the first time in this text. So there are texts like Sansamuccaya and Gunas Tika as well. But first time here we find a systematic historiography of Indian philosophy. We find the idea of progress regarding history of ideas. So I personally find this text very significant. He presents different schools of Indian philosophy in a progressive order and posits Advaita at the end, signifying that Indian philosophizing finds its climax in Shankara's Advaita Vedānta. This supremacy of Advaita continued to be entertained by the intellectuals and masses of India. Shankara's Advaita became synonymous of the Vedānta, and Vedānta in its Advaitic version became as if the official church of India. 19th century is regarded as the century of Vedānta due to the efforts of Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Ramakrishna Paramhans, Dayanand and Vivekananda. Vedānta spread not only in India but abroad as well. And soon it became popular amongst the Westerners also and came to be reckoned as the representative philosophy of India. However, in the 20th century, the supremacy of the Vedānta and especially of Advaita Vedānta was challenged by scholars of Kāśmīra Śaivism. Right from Gopinath Kaviraj, K.C. Pandey to L.N. Sharma and Kamalakar Mishra, B.N. Pandit, the Shaiv scholars were of the view that Indian thought finds its culmination in the Kāśmīra Śaivism. These scholars are of the opinion that Kāśmīra Shaivite form of Advaita is more comprehensive, inclusive, and cogent form of Advaita in comparison to Vedantic Advaita of Shankaracharya. These scholars further maintain that the Purna Advaita of Abhinavagupta provides a better worldview than that propagated by the Kevala Advaita of Shankara. We would like to see here whether this claim can be endorsed or not. I hope many of us have already an idea of Kashmir Śaivism. As you know, that Śaivism is the most ancient religious cult of this land. Its origin may be traced back to even before the Vedas. Yamunacharya in Agam Pramanya or in Vaman Purana or in Sarvadarshan Sangra, we find mention of different schools of Śaivism, where Sarvadarshan Sangra talks about 4 schools of Śaivism, namely Shaiv Siddhant, Shaiv Mat, Paspat Mat, Prativigyan, Raseshwar, Shaiv Paspat, not Shaiv Siddhant, Shaiv Paspat, Prativigyan, Raseshwar. Yamunacharya talks about 2 other sects, Kala, and Kapali. So these are the various sects of Śaivism. Out of these, one is the Shaiva Mat, which again we find there are 3 varieties of that Shaiva Mat or Śaivism. One which is prevalent in Tamil Nadu, southern part of India, and Tamil Nadu particularly, that is known as Shaiv Siddhant. Another is popular in Karnataka, that is known as Veed Śaivism. Often it is identified with Lingayat. Then the third one is Kāśmīra Śaivism, which has been popular in Kashmir, in other parts of India as well. Most of the acharyas, Kashmir Shaivites would claim, the traditional acharya, that all the acharyas were from Kashmir. This Kashmir Śaivism is also known as Prativigyan philosophy or Trik philosophy. It is called Trik. Why? Because it talks about the triad of Shiv, Shakti and Anu, or Pati, Pasu and Pas. Some people are of the opinion that it is called Trik because it talks about the triad of Ichha, Gyan and Kriya. Then others are of the opinion that it is called Trik because it talks about the 3 upayas, Aram, Sakt and Sambhav. Some others would say that since it is based on 3 yagams, Siddha, Malini and Namak, that's why it is called Trik philosophy. Others would say that it is based on the teachings of Somananda Utpal and Abhinavagupta, that's why it is called Trik. We are taking here Trik philosophy, Kashmir Śaivism or Prativigyan philosophy as synonymous. though there is debate even regarding that. Some again would like to say that Trik philosophy talks about Kram, Kul and Prativigyan, that's why it is called Trik. So Trik is broader than Prativigyan philosophy. We may take all these as synonymous one, Trik philosophy or Prativigyan philosophy or Kāśmīra Śaivism, the Śaivism which originated and flourished in Kashmir. Basically, it is based on 10 Śaivagams, 18 Raudragams, and 64 Vairagams, out of which the three, Siddha, Namak, and Malni, they are considered here very significant. Presently, one can say that among the Agam texts, Swachhanda Tantra, Malni Vijayottar Tantra, Paratrisika, Vigyan Bhairav, these tantras are which are available and which are considered to be the major texts, major agams or revealed texts in this tradition. So far as the systematic philosophy of Kāśmīra Śaivism is considered, all of us know that it was Vasugupta who may be considered as the first propounder. He is the author of the Shiv Sutra, which is again considered as Agam text in the tradition. He is also considered to be the author of Ispandakarika. In Shiv Sutra there are 77 sutras, whereas in Ispandakarika we found 52 karikas. And there we find a text, Ispanda Sarvas, by the Shishya of Vasugupta, Bhattakallat. On the other hand, we find a text, Shiv Drishti and Paratrisika Vritti by Somana. And these two are considered to be the founders of two different schools. If it is accepted that these are the two schools, one is the Ispandi school and another is the Prativigyan school. One can say that Prativigyan school, it was Somanand who founded the Prativigyan school, and it is the Bhattakallat who is supposed to be the founder of this Ispandi school. Though again, people are of the opinion, some scholars they would assert that really speaking, there is no two schools, Ispandi school or Prativigyan schools. After Somanand, there is Utpal. He wrote Ishwar Prativigyan Karika. He also wrote two commentaries on that. And this Ishwar Prativigyan may be considered as the most significant philosophical text of this school. His grandpupil Abhinavgupta commented on that, which we find as Ishwar Prativigyan Vivarsani, And later on in 17th century, he commented on that. That is known as Bhaskari. So Ishwar Prativigyan and Ishwar Prativigyan Vivarsani are together with Bhaskari, I think is the most significant text of Kashmir Śaivism. And it is Abhinavagupta, really speaking, one can say, he is the greatest of all Kashmir Saivas. One can say that he is one of the greatest philosophers of India, like Nagarjuna, Shankara, Abhinavagupta. These could be said that they are the most serious, sound, and original thinkers of Indian philosophy. Abhinavagupta wrote a number of texts. 40 texts are credited to him, including Tantra Lok. Tantra Lok is again a very famous text of this particular school, together with Jairastika, that is Vivek. That is again very, and it is really very interesting that these texts have been translated in Hindi as well as in English here in Banaras. Mark's translation of Tantra Lok together with Jairastika is almost complete, and Paramhans Mishra, he translated the text in Hindi, and that has been published from Sampurna Sanskrit University in so many volumes. Actually, Banaras has been the center of Kashmir Śaivism. Most of the scholars are here from Banaras. Though Lucknow was also center, you know that K.C. Pandey was there, presently Navjeevan Rastogi. Now all these scholars, as I told you, that Gopinath Kaviraj, Indain Philosopher, Kamlakar, Mishra, why Banaras has been centered? One of the most, one can say, original text of Kashmir Śaivism was written in 20th century by Rameswar Jha, that is known as Purnata Prativigyan. And this Rameswar Jha was teacher of Kamlakar Mishra, who wrote the text Central Philosophy of Kashmir Śaivism. He was the teacher of Ellen Sharma, who wrote the text Kashmir Śaivism. He was the teacher of Kamlesh Jha. So, number of scholars actually were either people of Rameswar Jha or Gopinath Kaviraj. But as I just mentioned, that all these scholars are of the opinion that it is in the Purnadvaita of Abhinavagupta that the culmination of Indian philosophy takes place. One contemporary scholar, Kamlakar Mishra, he in his various writings and speeches has advanced mainly three arguments to prove why Abhinavagupta is the greatest of all philosophers and why Kashmir Śaivism should be preferred over the Advaita Vedānta. Kamlakar Mishra is of the view that Advaitins fail to understand the true nature of consciousness. Consciousness is not only of the nature of knowledge, jnana, but also of the nature of Kriya activity. Advaitins overlook this activity aspect of consciousness. Shankar's Brahman is only static and passive, while Shaivites' Shiv is free and dynamic. By highlighting the Kriya aspect of consciousness, Kāśmīra Śaivism could solve the riddle of creation without taking recourse to Maya. The world is not creation of Maya or fictitious. It is real, as it is self-projection of Shiva himself. The other argument of Professor Mishra is that while Shankar's absolute lacks self-consciousness, as we know that Brahman consciousness in its true nature lacks remorse, whereas Shaivite Shiv consciousness is not abstract or pure but endowed with self-consciousness. Kashmiris could arrive to the truth of consciousness that if it lacks self-consciousness, then it is no better than sheer darkness. We cannot imagine that the Supreme Divine Reality lacks self-consciousness. So the theistic model of Kāśmīra Śaivism provides a better understanding of consciousness than that provided by the absolutes like Shankar. Mainly due to the above two reasons, the worldview of Shaivites is positive and life-asserting, claims Professor Mishra, while Shankar's approach to life and its problems is highly negative. Kashmiris talk about bhog and moksha together. We are already familiar with the verse Yatra asti bhogo na tatra asti moksha, yatra asti moksha na tatra asti bhoga. Shiv Sundari Sevanta Pranam Yatra asti bhogo tatra asti moksha. In fact, life is the synthesis of the two, bhog and moksha. Both these aspects are to be fulfilled. Tantra is basically the art of this. So Kāśmīra Śaivites would claim that they provide a holistic view of life, whereas Shankar's philosophy negates the practical needs of life and emphasizes too much on renunciation. Mishra calls for a more engaged form of life and opines that pursuing material goals of life does not deprive us of spiritual orientation. Material gains and spirituality can go together with. There is no contradiction in it. Now, my view is that all the above three arguments from the side of Kāśmīra Śaivites are not justified. Advaitic view of consciousness is more mature than that of Shivadvaita or Ishwaradvaita. Mishra often represents Abhinavgupta in his over-enthusiasm against Shankar. Shaivites' doctrine of Avasvad does not give more space to the worldly life in comparison with Mayavad. Avasvad is through and through an idealistic position. It is really ironical that Kāśmīra Śaivism on the one hand proclaims the doctrine of Avasvad and on the other hand denounces Shankar for negating the reality of the world. And lastly, a philosophy of life which stresses on calm and earth is doomed to failure and frustration, dissatisfaction and rest, deprives us of spiritual mooring as well. In fact, the defect does not lie in Kāśmīra Śaivism. Kāśmīra Śaivism is really a form of Advaita itself, though the Kashmiri version of Advaita is slightly different from the Advaita prevalent in other parts of the country. Mishra and other modern scholars of Kashmir Śaivism unnecessarily present Advaita as Purva Paksha of Shivadvaita. In fact, Advaita is the final teaching of Kashmir Śaivism as well. That's why Lakshmanji maintains that one who has no grounding of Advaita cannot understand the spirit of Kashmir Śaivism. The real significance of Kashmir Śaivism is that it leads us to the path of Advaita. In fact, ontologically, the position of Havaswad is not different from Mayavada Vedantics. Even Kamalakar Mishra had to concede that Mayavad and Leelavad are not ontologically not different. He says, I quote him, as far as the ontological status of the world is concerned, the world is false or appearance, according to Leelavad as well as Mayavad. For creation cannot play Leela unless it is false. Unquote. Mishra concludes that appearance or abhas is thus ontologically false, as it is just appearance and not reality, but axiologically real. Again and again, Kashmir Śaivites assert that the Advaitins regard appearance as tuchha or asat. But even a beginner in Advaita Vedānta would deny that this is the case with Advaitins, for they never regard the world as asat. No one can deny the fact of experience, and hence appearance of the world. Advaitins would like to assert. In fact, what appears could not be asat or tuchha. This is the doctrine of the Advaita. Asat chetna patiye. That's why they accept three levels of reality and give the appearance a status of pratibhasik satta. In fact, Kashmir Śaivites unnecessarily club Advaitins with Madhyamikas and conceive Mayavad and Sunyavad in similar. They fail to distinguish the difference between the doctrine of Mayavad and Sunyavad. For the Sunyavadins, the world is asat or tuchha, whereas for the Advaitins, the world could not be tuchha, as it does appear. So the charge that Advaitins regard the appearance as tuchha is wrong. The major flaw with Kashmir Śaivism is that it does not accept the doctrine of levels of truth. Ultimately, truth according to it is the supreme Shiva consciousness. Now it is ultimately only on this level that the world is appearance. Only at the level of Paramarth we can say that the world is avahas. This is true with both the Kashmir Śaivites as well as with the Advaitins. So far as the level of Vyavhar is concerned, Śaivites and Advaitins both would accept its phenomenal reality. So the charge that Advaitins reject the world as tuchha is not justified. In fact, it is with the Kashmir Śaivism that the problem arises. The position of Kashmir Śaivism could be justified only if it accepts the theory of two truths. Otherwise, a philosophy which believes in idealism cannot maintain the truth of the material world. On the one hand, Kashmir Śaivism maintains that the world is ideal. It is very much like a dream happening in Shiva's mind. And on the other hand, it defends the objective reality of the universe. But how could it be possible? Either the world is true or is false. Idealism and realism cannot be true together. We cannot resolve this dichotomy only after we could resolve the dichotomy only after accepting levels of truth. What is at the level of Samvriti truth may be false at the level of Paramarth. This fact was very much very systematic manner highlighted by Nagarjuna when he says that Dvesakte Sampasvit Buddha Nam Dharmadesna Lok Samhita Satyam Cha Paramattha Ye Anayo Na Vijananti Vibhagam Satyayo Dayo Te Tattvam Na Vijananti Gambhiram Buddha Sasana Vyavharam Manasviti Paramartho Na Disyate Paramartham Manasviti Vyavharam Na Adhigamati. So we have to posit the levels of truth. What is at the level of Samvriti truth may be false at the level of Paramartha. Unfortunately, scholars of Kāśmīra Śaivism are hesitant to accept this doctrine of levels of truth. They do not want to subscribe to the theory of Vyavhar and Paramartha. Advaitins and Madhyamikas accept this, so they can better explain the riddle of the universe. They can hold the theory that what is true in Vyavhar is ultimately false. The only alternative left to Śaivites is that they should openly accept that this world is a real creation of Shiva. But if this position is accepted, then there would be no difference between Shaiva Siddhanta and Kāśmīra Śaivism. As we know that Shaiva Siddhanta position is a theistic position. Kāśmīra Śaivites position would be, and if this is accepted, then Kāśmīra Śaivites position would be a theistic position. We do find a number of places where Kāśmīra Shivacharyas are maintaining this position. When Kāśmīra Shivacharyas proclaim that the world is a real creation of God, that Shiva is omnipotent, omnipresent, self-conscious reality, and that Shiva has panchkrityas to perform. He performs panchkrityas. He is endowed panchashaktis. Panchkriti Srishti Sthiti Sanghara Tirodhan and Anugrah. He constantly, in fact, performs these functions. So, naturally, this would be a theistic position. So, we do find a number of places where Kāśmīra Shivacharyas are maintaining this position. When Kāśmīra Shivacharyas proclaim that the world is a real creation of God, that God is omnipotent, omnipresent and self-conscious reality, that Shiva has panchkrityas to perform, they construe Shiva in the fashion of a personal God. In fact, what is wrong? Yeah.
Shall I request you to summarize because we are like running short of time?
Yes. Very few minutes. In fact, what is wrong with the theistic Vedantins is also with Kāśmīra Shivacharyas. Kamlakara Mishra complains that Advaita Vedanta succumbs to the dichotomy of Ishvara and Brahma. But I would like to maintain that this is the case with Kāśmīra Shivacharyas themselves. Shiva is either philosophical absolute or theistic God. God is either Saguna or Nirguna. It cannot be both. Similarly, the world is either true or false. It cannot be both. Kāśmīra Śaivites want to take both these positions. Hence, we have a number of contradictions. K.C. Pandit talks of realistic idealism. Kamlakar Mishra talks of theistic absolutism. In fact, theism and absolutism, Abhasvad and Swatantravad, realism and idealism, they cannot go together. How idealism and realism can be both true? As I have said earlier, all these contradictions could be resolved if the doctrine of levels of truth is incorporated. But the majority of Kāśmīra Sivacars, including Abhinav Gupta, is reluctant to do so. Though there might be another reading of this also, as we know that Abhinav Gupta is author of Paramarth Sar, and that Paramarth Sar could be read with the lens of Advaita. Though I think that the spirit of cosmic Śaivism would be better apprehended only keeping with this division. The issue of supremacy has also been addressed by Professor Sangamlal Pandey in his book on Indian philosophy. Pandey there referred to Gopinath Kaviraj and refutes his view that Kāśmīra Śaivism is better and superior to Advaita Vedānta. Pandey's argument is that Kāśmīra Śaivi's position that knowledge and activity always go together and the self is always endowed with both these two cannot be accepted. This could be true in the realm of empirical, where knowing and willing are presented in intermingled form. But then at the level of pure form or transcendent Shiva, only knowledge persists. That's why even Kāśmīra Śaivism has to accept that Shiva is of the nature of Prakash and Shakti is of the nature of Kriya. Even at the realm of the empirical, Pandey says that the fact of epistemology suggests in so many ways that knowing and willing are not necessarily co-present. Pandey is of the view that the same reality, Shiva, is the subject matter of both the Advaita and the Trik philosophy. However, where Advaita studies is pure and transcendent form, when Shiva is not endowed with vimersa, Trik philosophy commences its inquiry with the endowment of Shiva with vimersa. It primarily focuses on Shiva endowed with Shakti or vimersa. Trik position cannot be called true Advaita because it talks of samrasya of Shiva and Shakti. This is a very serious charge. Trik philosophy position cannot be called true Advaita because it talks of the samrasya of Shiva and Shakti. It is true that it is not dualism, but that also does not mean that it is pure Advaita. Pandey says that there is swagata bhed persisting in reality, therefore Kāśmīra's position is more near to theistic Vedānta than to Sankar's. So, as I would conclude the paper, and I would send it. The paper is very long, and I would send all of you. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mishra.